everybody, this is Bobby with Bobby Stamps, and I have another card I'm going to share with you. And again, this one is from my display board I did for the Fort Worth, Texas Onstage event. I was chosen to be a display stamper, and this was one of my cards. I was showcasing this beautiful new ribbon and this DSP paper. So we could use the stamp sets that we already had to help us out. So I chose to use one of my favorites that is going away. I'm so sad that it's no longer going to be in the catalog, but it is the Flower Shop stamp set. And I just checked before I started my video. The stamp set seems to still be available, but the punch I do not think is no longer available. So sorry about that, but I still wanted to share the card because I got a lot of compliments on this one, and it is truly one of my favorite ones that I made for my display board. So we are going to use Versamark ink. I am going to use some of the clear faceted gems. I'm going to use some silver embossing powder. You're going to need your heat tool. I'm going to use the lots of labels. And we're going to use some vellum paper in basic gray is our card base, or smoky slate, I'm sorry, is our card base. And the designer series paper is Broadway bound, and it's going to be in the new catalog. I've shared this quite a bit with you guys, so I'm not going to talk in detail about it, but it will be in the new annual catalog, just so you guys know that. Let me get some of these things out of my way so we can get started. So I'm just going to go ahead and take my card base and fold it in half, and then I'm just going to give that a nice score there. Okay, and then we'll just go ahead and take some of our ribbon and get it going around our DSP paper. And so I'm just going to use it like I normally do, what I call the cheater method. And we're just going to trim some of that, and then I'm just going to use some tape. I'm going to kind of put it over close to the side because we do need to have room. We're going to be putting a lot of flowers on there. So this is double-sided, that is the other side. And we'll just fold this around and fold that around, and we can go ahead and put this down on our card base. So I am out of snail, so it looks like I will be using some Tombow multi-purpose glue, and we'll just give that a nice cover. And then we'll just put that on our card base like so. You just want to even it up as much as you can all the way around the perimeter. Okay, then we'll just take our ribbon and we're just going to make us a tiny little bow. And this ribbon is really easy to use. It's in the new catalog as well. And you can just see it just makes a very easy, cute bow without a lot of work. So I'm just going to keep snugging it till I get it about the size of the bow that I'm wanting. I think we'll pull this one just a little bit more, and that looks pretty good. So I'm just going to go ahead and snip my ends, and I'll probably make this just a tad bit shorter too. I always just cut it off where I'm eyeballing it, where I think it's going to be okay. And then I go in and just clean it up to make it the size I actually want those to be. And that looks really good. I like that. So we'll just get rid of those pieces. Okay, and we'll take the mini glue dot, and we can just put that right there at the top. And for right now, I'm just going to put this card base to the side, and we'll get started doing our stamping for it. So I think the first thing I'm going to do, we're going to use Whisper White as well as the vellum, and what I'm going to do is stamp the images that I'm going to use, just the white cardstock. Okay, so what we'll do is we will just get started with our stamping. Let me grab my mat, and I'm just going to go ahead And we'll grab, the first one I'm going to do is the flower that has like the writing on it, like the word. So I'm just going to ink that up. Just ink that up really good in Versamark. And I'm just going to stamp down. And then I'm going to go ahead and bring in my silver embossing powder. And then we'll just cover that image really well with the embossing powder. Shake it off. I always go over it a couple times just to make sure I have a good coverage. And that looks pretty good. And then a little flick on the back. Then I'm going to go ahead and with my vellum right here, I'm just going to do the same thing. And I'm only going to do these two just to give you an idea of how to do it, so that way you don't have to watch me do them all on camera, because that with the heat tool is going to take quite a bit of time. So I'm just going to show you how I did it on the vellum and then how I did it on the piece of Whisper White. And then you could do the rest. You can choose the design, but when I do come back on the video, I will share with you which ones are used for which ones, okay? So I'm just going to go ahead and turn my heat tool on, and we'll melt that embossing powder. And you can kind of see, there it goes, it's starting to melt. Just want to make sure you don't burn your fingers, because this does get really hot really quick. So just make sure you keep your fingers back. Okay, that one looks like it's good, and then we'll move on to the Whisper White. And there it goes. So what I kind of did, guys, was I used the same 3 images, you know, 3 on white, 3 on the vellum. So I'll go ahead and stamp those really quick, but I won't make you watch me do the heat tool with it, okay? So let's just go ahead and pop these out, so that way we don't have to worry about getting them okay. I should have done that immediately, because that is why my stamp, I don't know if you noticed it, but that's why my stamp's kind of marked. So I'm going to trim this and see if that helps me to be able to fit it in my pansy punch a little bit easier, because I think that's what my problem is, was it wasn't lining up good. But that's why I'll show you here in just a second why I have my pansy punch marked, is because there is a very certain way that you need to hold this. And I don't know, you guys can't see because I'm trying to hold it closer to me as I'm lining it up, but I'm probably going to have to re-stamp this one, because it is supposed to be right there. So let me see if I just trim. It seems like it might be that end that's stopping me from getting that the way I want it to line up. And it was. So see, just a little bit of maneuvering. I'll show you in just a minute what I'm talking about. So I'm just trying to get that lined up where I'm going to be happy, and that looks like about right there. So I'm just going to leave that and move that off to the side. And what I was talking about, I'll show you on the one I'm getting ready to stamp, but let's see if we can line this one up any better. And yes, that one is lining up much better. So we'll just pop those 2 out. So what I'm referring to is on my stamp, I have marked them, because there is definitely a certain way that you have to stamp these images to get them to line up good with the pansy punch. So I have my mark down, so I know the ones that I'm stamping with this down are going to fit into that pansy punch really easily for me. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'll just show you this one. Like I said, I'm not going to heat set this one on camera, because that just is going to take too long. But I'll go ahead and show you again on this one. We'll just ink this one up in Versamark. I've got my mark straight down, and I'm just going to push that straight down. And then we'll just put the Versamark or the powder on this. Oops, and my sweater grabbed a hold of that spoon and made a mess. Okay, so both of those now are ready to be heat set. So I will do that. I'm going to go ahead and stamp my other images and pop those out while I'm doing that, and I'll come back and show you on the Pansy Punch how easy it is to line that up. I don't want you to think that it's impossible to do. You just have to make sure that you line it up, you know, and have your mark at the right spot and know where it's at. So I'll be right back, guys. Okay guys, I am back. So I have stamped the other image on the Whisper White, and then the one we had already done, and then I just did another one. The one that you do on the vellum with the silver embossing powder, the image, this one kind of shows up really good, but this one and then the writing one, this is the one that has like the writing on it. You really can't tell it, but you can't make out the writing as well as you can on like the white, but I still liked the look of it, so I just went ahead and used it. So I'm just going to go ahead, and I made sure that I kept my paper turned in the right orientation, that I knew that my punch needed to line up. And so that is how easy that is to do when you make sure. I think the other one that I accidentally had turned it in when I was doing the heat tool and didn't pay attention to the orientation like I knew I needed to ensure that it was going to line up correctly. So this one, you know, when I paused the video, I just was really, really careful to make sure that I kept everything in the right order that I knew it had to be. So the next thing we're going to do then is we will emboss our sentiment. And that comes from the Painted Harvest stamp set. I forgot to grab that, so I had to pause the video so I could run over to my shelf and grab it. Okay, so let's go ahead and we'll put this on one of our blocks. Just make sure you get it lined up straight. And I'm just going to punch mine out after I stamp it in the Versamark and heat set it. I'll just run it through the big shot that way. So I'm just going to go for the center of my piece of vellum and pull up. Grab some of our embossing powder here. And then just, I always like to do a couple of coats with the embossing powder just to make sure I get enough. And here comes the heat tool again. It shouldn't take it very long to set it this time because the heat gun is pretty much warmed up. So when you've used it quite a few times, it doesn't take near as long for it to get hot and melt that embossing powder. Okay. Just trying to close my cabinet up where I have to set that while I'm doing my video. And I'm going to cover my Versamark and put that away and move all of my stamps. I'll clean them in just a minute. I'm trying to make room for my big shot. Okay, so we'll just put the big shot right here. And I'm going to go ahead and close the embossing powder just to make sure I don't hit it and spill it and make a huge mess. So I'm going to use the lots of labels, and I'm going to use the smaller framelit, and I am going to turn it this way so I can fit both pieces that I'm going to run through here at one time. If I had to turn them the other way, I may not be able to fit them both on there. So we'll just slide that one in there, and I will tell you it is harder for me visually to see that when it goes in that orientation instead of looking straight on it, but I think it's going to be okay. I'm more worried about the one that's already got the sentiment because that's the one we need to make sure that we center pretty good. Okay. And then we'll just pop both of these off. like so. I'll move this out of our way. And then we will grab some more of those glue dots. And what I chose to do was, when I layered this, I used glue dots. And then I just put a glue dot here and here. And that made it where I could put the little jewels on at the end. And you wouldn't be able to see the glue dot. So just kind of lay one there. And then we'll put one right there. And then we're just going to center that. Oops. Got that just a little bit crooked. Whoops. There we go. Much better. Okay, and then we'll just use 2 of our small jewels to put those down. And if you wanted to use more, you know, to get that to lay down, if you wanted to use snail, you could, but I'm okay with it looking like that. The flowers, we can try to arrange them. You could probably even put, you know, a glue dot behind that area there where it's been heat embossed, and it wouldn't show up near as bad either. Okay, so let's go ahead and bring the card base in and our flowers. And what I did was I used dimensionals, and I just put 1 dimensional right in the back center of each flower. Okay. Just pop one right in the center of each of those. Our card's almost done, even with all this heat embossing that we had to do. But I just knew when I made this card for Onstage that I wanted to do a video. So I'm just going to bring my sample back in so I can kind of see how I did it. And it looks like we did one of the numbers, or the lettering there. I am going to go ahead and put my sentiment on them first, and then I'll put my flowers, make my flowers go around my sentiment. So I'm going to just kind of line that up about where I did the other one. And I'm going to use dimensionals for my sentiment. And I'm just going to do 4, I think. And if you guys are interested, right now I'm doing a BOGO sale on my blog. It's bobbystamps.com. And for any amount of money that you spend in my online store, you can shop on my blog where I have retired holiday stamps. So if you spend $25 in my online store and I have a stamp set that's $25, you can get that for free. So if you want to visit that, I would greatly appreciate it. I am really trying to earn the incentive trip that Stampin' Up! Is offering this year, and it is to the Greek Isle. And I'm closer than I ever have been, and really want to earn that trip. So any support you could give me would be greatly appreciated. So we're just going to start, and I'm just going to place these kind of randomly. So this one I'm just going to kind of put there. And then I'm going to peel the backing off of this one. And I like to kind of place them and then just kind of see how they're going to look. And then we need another white one for the background. And I'm just going to kind of place it there. And then I'm going to do one of the vellum more down towards this end. And then we'll do another white one right about there, and then we'll do another vellum right about here. I think I like that. Okay guys, there you go. That is my card, one of my display cards that I made for Onstage in Fort Worth, Texas. I hope that you guys like this. If you do, please hit the thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, visit my blog. I have a great promotion going on right now, an In Color Club. I have registration open for the new catalog that's coming out in June for a paper share. And like I said, I have that great BOGO sale that's going on right now. So make sure you visit my blog. It's bobbystamps.com. Thanks, guys.